Hey, it's Mooney from the Muniverse, and I've got an important message to share with you today that you are not behind. I want to share the truth about divine timing in your spiritual business. Now, how many of you have said this to yourself at one point or another where you've said, "Oh, I should have started this," and "Oh, I could have started that a long time ago," and "Oh, look at that person. They're way beyond what I could ever do." There's these judgments that are constantly floating up for us when we look at what other people are doing, we look at our favorite spiritual teachers, and when we look at the to-do list or the sort of started and half finished and barely started and not finished ideas and concepts and things that we wanted to do. And I'm also guilty of this, so it's okay to admit that you are too in some way, shape, or form. And if it's not you and you've totally sailed on to everything else, and skip to the next video. No, I'm kidding. So for if that's something that you've been struggling with, this concept of like I'm behind or it's too late or I'm how am I going to get started? I'll never catch up. Like all the different things that pop up for us, we have to remember that there is power in our spiritual business specifically too, but also everywhere else. That divine timing is going to be a huge part of what makes it make sense. So follow me because we're going to go through all of this. So first and foremost, I just want to like run through this. I want to get this out of the way. So you're not late. You're not behind. You didn't miss your shot. This is just kind of like limiting beliefs and old programming and fear and ego and your cozy little security blanket of perfection paralysis and paranoia and imposter syndrome, and they're all designed to like keep you safe and cozy in your comfort zone and never stray too far away from that which you know, right? And when we do this as a spiritual business or spiritual entrepreneur, you're straying a little bit further outside of the zone that you're normally in because you're going from student or a fan of spiritual self work and the different modalities you work with into the role of like a teacher, a leader, a coach, and a guide. So it is a brand new way of looking at things. It's a different identity, a different archetype for you to step into when it comes to your spiritual practice. So there is this concept that success has a clock on it, and that if you don't make it by a certain time or some other made up invisible milestone, that it's going to be too late for you. And I want us to sort of breathe that in for a second and then exhale and let it go and let that whole concept go that anything has to happen on any specific timeline because we are so not in control of a lot of the stuff that happens. So, first and foremost, if we can take a couple of breaths and kind of get used to the idea that divine timing is going to be an important part of this process, it's almost like a partner that's with you because there's so much of what's happening that is happening for us and not to us. So, each start and stop, each opportunity that you let go by or each opportunity that you took that turned out to not be the right one or however it ended up happening, those are all part of the process of you learning something, unlocking something, discovering something, finding a new boundary, finding a definition of what you don't want, finding a way to kind of bump into something and say, yeah, I could see how that could work, but that's not really aligned with who I am and what I want to do. And I say all of this because after a year of working with the students in my spiritual business school program, I have learned now that this is one of the most productive parts of discovering how you want your spiritual business to occur and how you want it to come out of you and what ways it makes sense and how you find alignment is sometimes doing it wrong, right? Is sometimes charging off in a direction to say, I'm definitely going to do this. And then you do it and you find that in that part of the journey that you kind of loop back around to the beginning point and then continue another direction, and sometimes that's an opportunity to celebrate. It's not wasted time if it gives you clarity and it gives you the focus and a new direction to move into with more certainty and more confidence in what you want to do. So, spiritual businesses don't work like this. There's no linear part of it, there's no linear part to how your life works. Everything is kind of unfolding in this beautiful, organic, and kind of divinely timed way. Oh, there we go, divine timing all over again. So, everything that's led you here, every moment of doubt, every twist and turn, every detour has been part of this kind of unfolding journey. And it's all been preparing you for what comes next. And I want to tell you right now with certainty at this point after having done this now for quite a while that you're right on time. So any part of you that's still holding on to this idea that, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or if only this had happened, or if only I had started 10 years ago, or back in 2017, or whatever you want. I mean, whatever version of that you're beating yourself up with, please let that go. And just remember that I said, and the universe said, and divine timing said, hey, you're right on time. So congratulations first and foremost for being right on time and watching this video, and that we can start to really approach our spiritual business and this journey as it unfolds in a non-judgmental, very supportive and self-loving, unconditional love kind of way. So if you're all on board to do that, say I, high five me or yourself or your computer, however you want to do it, or your ears if you're listening, and get ready to explore a little bit more about this divine timing and how it works in our spiritual business. So we said a second ago that spiritual timing does not equal linear time. So I want to say that again. Spiritual timing does not equal linear time. And I know that this is something for a lot of us that we kind of know already, but it's important to say it out loud and make it a part of how we approach the work that we want to do. I love to say this to myself maybe like once every week to say, okay, well, spiritual timing is not linear time, especially when things take longer than I wanted them to, which again is still a judgment because things are going to take however long they take. And it's going to be part of me learning how to do this and how I respond to how I have that experience, if that makes sense. So we don't build spiritual businesses like corporations build companies. I mean, you can if you want to, but that's not how I found it to be the most effective way to do it. We're building it from our soul, right? This is an expression of this larger infinite spiritual part of ourselves that's having this human experience. And so our soul is kind of like our CEO in the process of how we do this. We want to make sure that our soul is in there and it's at the center of what we're doing. And that kind of helps you keep in alignment with what it is your soul's agenda is. Now, I tell this story all the time. I had this amazing opportunity to have dinner with Neale Donald Walsch in Switzerland. And we were sitting and talking about what it is that drives spiritual entrepreneurs to share their gift in this way, right? What is it that becomes a part of the internal structure of why this happens? And I'll never forget what he said is he started talking about the fact that it has to do with the agenda of your soul. What does this have to do with the agenda of your soul? Your soul is having this beautiful experience at the center of who you are and this thing that you're doing right now. And it gives you this momentum to say, keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, our egos and stuff can get in the way sometime, but our soul is always going to be there guiding us. And I kind of refer to that as sometimes our North Star, and I talk about that in the trainings. But the North Star is also in here. It's our soul. It's all connected. So it doesn't do deadlines in the way that marketing requires, and it doesn't feel that pressure, and it doesn't feel that connection to time, let's put it that way, is probably the best way to describe it, is that your soul is kind of like time, whatever, right? Because it's an infinite kind of ever-knowing part of you that's kind of out there floating in the universe, and it's just having this human experience right now. So I'll keep repeating that as a way to kind of ground the process, right? Because sometimes it can feel like, whoa, that's so big and the concept is so hard for me to imagine as it relates to my daily life. And then sometimes it's exciting and it kind of releases a lot of the limitations that you've put on yourself about like, oh, I couldn't do that, or I shouldn't do that, or whatever it is that's still floating around for you. So there's a reason for stillness, and there's a season for rising, and there's a season for serving, and you might be stepping into your season of visibility now, right? We talk a lot about visibility and allowing people to see you. So instead of asking yourself, why didn't I start sooner? I would love for you to ask yourself, what was the gift in my delay? What was the gift in my delay? And if you think about it, every twist and turn, and you go back and lovingly look at it as part of the journey, you don't judge it, you probably find that you got a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of depth, a little bit of clarity, or maybe the strength to do it differently. Maybe you unlocked a layer of healing that you weren't expecting. Maybe you found a breakthrough that led to something totally different. Maybe you just gave yourself a moment of peace. Peace in the stillness of, I'm stepping out of crisis. I'm stepping into this kind of central area of normal. And then I'm moving into a phase of discovery. And so I want you to think about it that way, is that you kind of have to look at every twist and turn as a little part of this journey that revealed or unfolded or created the space for something that needed to happen that continued to point you in the right direction and gave you the opportunity to keep going. So I also want to remind you, this is another part of it, if you still are holding on to any of these issues, is that you can always start again. There is no rule. Nobody's keeping track. Nobody's saying, this is your 7th time trying to do this. One more time and you're done. There is no version of that here when it comes to your spiritual business. You get to do this at your own pace, on your own schedule, and with divine timing and with your soul as your CEO. So I'll give you that structure and we'll kind of keep coming back to it. But I think that feels good to say it out loud. So, one of my favorite things to remind students inside Launch Your Spiritual Business, and this is part of all the programs I teach, but it's really great inside of this one, is the moment you say yes to showing up fully is the moment the universe starts rearranging itself in your favor. So I'm going to say that again. The moment you say yes to showing up fully is the moment the universe starts rearranging itself in your favor. And I like to think of it that way too, because it's also like all the stuff is there, right? All the pieces of it are there. And it's the universe kind of rearranging things and sort of putting signs and symbols and things in your way and people sometimes to help keep you going forward on that journey. So I'm excited for you to kind of embrace this concept that the universe is sort of like at the diner waiting for you to to get an order, and then it's putting your order together and kind of putting it in a place where you can find it, and in this case have a delicious bite of it. So I'll use that analogy too if that's something you guys like. I love to think of it also as the universe calling these opportunities to you. The universe saying, okay, well, I got the go ahead, so I'm going to start sending things their way. And that's another great way. So, however you visualize it, this is an opportunity for you to just embrace this concept of you have unlimited restarts, right? And your restarts on this business could even happen in your next lifetime. So, there's no rush. It would be fun for you to have it in this lifetime, but there's no rush. Things will eventually sort themselves out. So, that's another great way of looking at things. But I want to remind you in the middle of this too, you don't need a perfect strategy. You don't need 100 followers. You just need a tiny little spark, right? A little bit of willingness, a little bit of courage, a little bit of support from some people you might know. And your soul already knows what to do next. You just need to trust it, right? A lot of what we talk about in the program is about following this concept of knowing and allowing, right? I'm allowing myself to be seen. I know that this is going to work out. And giving that little limiting belief voice in your head that's not going to work out, you're not going to do it, you're too late, to like allowing that to float away and have its own experience somewhere else, right? So a lot of programs will tell you to like write it down and burn it or break through your beliefs or destroy this. I don't subscribe to that. I really love the concept of allowing these limiting beliefs and these thoughts to just kind of float away, and then they can go off and have a whole adventure on their own without needing to be here checking in on me. And maybe they go and turn into like a fluffy little unicorn and they go have a whole experience. And then maybe back at source, when I'm back there in my infinite self, we high five and we laugh about, the situation we created for ourselves here on Earth this lifetime. So there's a lot that kind of goes into that. But I want to remind you that you already know what to do next, and you need to trust. You need to know and allow and trust yourself, trust your soul that everything that's happening is for a reason, and that reason is you. So an activation that I want to share with you today, this is kind of what I do. This is my practice of how I like make this work every day for me is I take a breath. You caught me doing that earlier and we all did it together. Breathing's probably the only time I'm not talking. We place our hands directly on our hearts and we say, I'm not behind. I'm aligned, and I'm allowed to begin again. I'm not behind. I am aligned, and I'm allowed to begin again. And you can do that as many times as you need to. It helps with overwhelm. It helps when you get frustrated. It helps when you get stuck a little bit into a comparison loop with somebody else. It helps with imposter syndrome. It helps with perfection paralysis, with paranoia. There's so many things that it helps with for us spiritual entrepreneurs to just remind ourselves, I'm not behind. I'm aligned, and I'm allowed to begin again. So, in that state of balance and connection, you get to take one small step. You get to write a post, you get to send an email, you get to claim your URL, you get to make your first offer, you get to just say out loud, I have a spiritual business. You get to say out loud, I have a spiritual gift and I want to share it with the world. Whatever it occurs to you, whatever that small step is for you to take, I encourage you to do your activation. I'm not behind. I'm aligned. I'm allowed to begin again. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out, and do something about it. Do something about it. The world doesn't need you to catch up. It needs you to show up. Right on time. Exactly when divine timing, and you choose to. So with all of that said and everything that's involved in this, I want you to understand that the Muniverse is here to support you every step along the way of this journey. So whether you're starting out, whether you're established and you're starting over, whether you're doing it and you need more help and support, the reasons for showing up here are all the same. We're trying to get that thing that's in us, that gift, that special something that we share, out there into the world so that it can help people, but also so it can heal us in the process. So again, I want to remind you, and thanks for being here, like the divine timing is so important. You're not behind at all. You're showing up exactly on time. You just got to show up. Show up and shine. I say that all the time. So enjoy this video. Come and check us out at themuniverse.com if you want to get started, and I will see you very, very soon.